Hello, and welcome back to another episode of What Now? I hope everyone is having a lovely Tuesday or whatever day you're listening to this on. For me right now, it is currently pouring outside. Don't love that. It's given cozy day, however, I have a lot to do. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm super excited for today's episode. It is part 2 of my new series, Where Were They?, where I look into different well-known and successful individuals and discuss where they were in their 20s and how they got to where they are now. Today's group is 3 iconic, incredible, inspiring actresses whose stories are just all so impressive. Before I dive in, please make sure you subscribe to the pod on whatever you listen on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, and follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at What Now a Podcast. All right, let's just dive right in. All right, the first person I am going to talk about is the one and only Meryl Streep, the woman with 16 Oscar nominations and over 45 films under her belt. But before she became Meryl Streep, she was just a girl from New Jersey, shout out Jersey, best state ever, trying to figure it out. She was born in 1949 in Summit, New Jersey. Her dad was a pharmaceutical executive and her mom was an artist. And Meryl was actually a cheerleader and a homecoming queen in high school, so given Little Miss Popular. At 18, she graduated high school and headed to Vassar College, where she studied theater and earned her bachelor's degree in drama. Actually, at 20, while in college, she also played her first serious acting role. She was the title character in her college's production of Miss Julie. But here's the funny thing that I learned. She was still thinking about actually becoming an environmental lawyer. Around 23, she was preparing to take the LSAT to go to law school until she accidentally slept through the exam. She'd been in a play the night before and just completely missed the exam the next day. And that one missed test changed her whole life. After that, she leaned fully into acting and went on to get her Master of Fine Arts from the Yeoh School of Drama at 26. Still, she said it wasn't easy coming out of drama school. Finding steady work was hard, but she kept showing up, doing plays around New York, performing with the New York Shakespeare Festival, and just trying to get by. By the time she was 29, everything changed. She made her Broadway debut, she won an Emmy for the TV miniseries Holocaust, and got her first Oscar nomination for The Deer Hunter. Then at 30 years old, Meryl Streep won her very first Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in her role in Kramer vs. Kramer. And from there, her career just skyrocketed. In the years that followed, she became known not only for her legendary performances, but also for using her platform to advocate for others. She's spoken out about gender inequality and Hollywood's pay gap, and she even sent letters and books to U.S. lawmakers urging them to revive the Equal Rights Amendment. At 59, she received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Film Institute. At 61, a National Medal of Art from former President Barack Obama. At 62, a Kennedy Center honor, and at 65, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, also given to her by former President Obama. And obviously, I didn't even list every single award or honor she's gotten. She's just so remarkable. So, from homecoming queen to one of the most celebrated actresses in history, Meryl's story is such a good reminder that your 20s do not have to be linear. You can literally sleep through the thing that changes your life. Okay, moving on to one of the most iconic action stars in the world, the one and only Michelle Yeoh. She's the first Asian woman to ever win the Oscar for Best Actress, but her story actually didn't start anywhere near Hollywood. Michelle Yeoh was born in 1962 in Ipoh, Malaysia, to a lawyer dad and a stay-at-home mom. She grew up very busy. She played basketball, she swam, she learned piano, she played rugby. She even won titles in squash. I'm pretty sure I saw that she was a junior champion. But anyways, the thing she loved most was ballet. At just 15 years old, she moved across the world to London to study at the Royal Academy of Dance. Her plan was to become a professional ballerina and then open her own studio. But while training in her early 20s, a back injury ended that dream almost instantly. After graduating from Manchester Metropolitan University at 21, out of nowhere, her mom entered her without telling her into the Miss Malaysia pageant. And Michelle actually ended up winning. And that one random event opened many doors. After the pageant, she was invited to do a TV commercial with Jackie Chan, and that ad caught the attention of filmmakers in Hong Kong. And before she knew it, she was cast in her first movie, The Owl and Dumbo, at 22. A year later, she starred in Yes, Madam, her first major action role, and I actually learned that for this role, she trained 8 hours a day at the gym. The thing to know about Michelle Yeoh is that she pretty much always performs her own stunts. She's actually insane. She's literally dislocated her shoulder and even had to get knee surgery once. Yes. But anyways, at 25, right as her career was taking off, she actually decided to walk away. She married businessman Dixon Poon and planned to retire, focusing on her personal life. And it wasn't a break. She genuinely thought that she was done acting for good. But a few years later, she came back stronger than ever. At 35, she made her Hollywood debut as a Bond girl in Tomorrow Never Dies, becoming the first Asian woman to play a lead in the franchise. At 38, she starred in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which won 4 Oscars. Decades later, she continued to redefine her own career, from Eleanor Young in my favorite comfort movie you have to watch on the plane, Crazy Rich Asians, to Evelyn Wong in Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, a role that was actually originally thought of for Jackie Chan, but ultimately was perfect for Michelle Yeoh. And in 2023, at 60 years old, Michelle Yeoh made history as the first Asian woman to win the Academy Award for Best Actress for her performance in Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. She once said in an interview, "I had to wait 40 years, but it's okay, because there are different journeys, there are different battles, there are different times, and I'm lucky that I'm still able to be here." Michelle Yeoh earned Excellence in Asian Film Awards in 2013, and in 2020 was named to both the Time 100 and BBC 100 Women of the Year lists. One more quote I want to add from her that I found in an interview that I love is she says, this is like, she was talking about her upbringing, or she was talking about when she was younger and didn't know that she was going to go into acting. And she said, "I never understood stage fright until I had to do drama," she says. "It was only when I started having to learn lines, do a monologue on stage, that I could literally hear my heart beat. I used to try to skip whatever classes I had. If you had told any of my drama professors, one day this girl Michelle is going to be an actress, they would have bet their last dollar that it never happens." What's so powerful about her story is that in her early 20s, she didn't even want to act. She just said it. Her professors didn't even think it would happen. She thought she'd spend her life in the ballet world, but instead she became a global icon and a reminder that even when your first dream ends, something incredible might be waiting just around the corner. Okay, now finishing off with one of Hollywood's most powerful forces, Miss Octavia Spencer. An Oscar, a Golden Globe, and a BAFTA winner, Octavia Spencer is incredible, but her journey didn't start in the spotlight. Octavia was born in 1970 in Montgomery, Alabama. She is the 6th of 7 kids in her family. When she was 13 years old, her father passed away, and a few years later, at 17, she lost her mom too. Something she says forced her and her siblings to grow up very fast. She said that losing both parents so young made her learn to find her voice very early on. At 17 years old, she'd managed to talk her way into a production assistant job on the film The Long Walk Home, which was shooting in Montgomery and starred Whoopi Goldberg. In fact, in an NPR interview, she says, "When I found out where their production offices were, I went by every day to tell them, that I needed to work on that film. And they were so annoyed that they knew that I was going to continue to come back if they didn't give me a job. And so I was paid $100 a week as an intern, and I don't think I had ever been happier about anything." And on top of that, Octavia says that she got advice from Whoopi Goldberg herself on the set that she still discusses to this day. And she says Whoopi told her, "Hollywood will always be there, get your education." Because on her experience in this interning on the set, Octavia was so into the film world and really excited to just go for it. But she listened to Whoopi. And after high school, she went to Auburn University, where she studied English and theater arts. She got her degree at 24 years old, and just a year later, her path to Hollywood began. So Octavia Spencer says that she would be asked frequently by directors to audition and read lines for a small part when she was interning and working on these different sets. And she says that she always turned it down because she was way too shy or nervous. And then when she was working on the film A Time to Kill, the director did not ask her to read for any role, and it was the first time this had happened to her. So in that same NPR interview I mentioned, she says, "And so I went to him. It made me actually more proactive. I had to go to him and ask him to read for the part of a woman who started the riots. I don't know if you remember the movie." And he said, "No, your face is too sweet to start a riot. You should read for Sandy's nurse." And he gave me the part, and I went on to play about 32 nurses. So in A Time to Kill, she played Sandra Bullock's nurse. And that film not only changed her life in being the first film she was cast in, but on set, she met another assistant, Tate Taylor, who became one of her great friends and years later would write and direct the movie The Help, and of course would cast Olivia in the role that would change everything. At 26, she packed up and moved to LA to give acting a real shot. She actually got a house-sitting job driving a wealthy family's kid to acting auditions as a way to be able to live in LA. She started taking classes, auditioning for everything, and doing small TV roles. Some of the shows she was in were ER and Brimstone, and a lot of others. Between gigs, she also worked as a market research supervisor, which I thought was interesting. But slowly but surely, she became known for her comedic timing and scene-stealing energy, appearing in movies like Being John Malkovich and Big Mama's House. She bounced between comedy, drama, and even horror. Then, at 41 years old, after nearly 15 years in the business, Octavia got her big break. She played Minnie Jackson in The Help, a performance that won her an Academy Award, a Golden Globe, a BAFTA, and a SAG Award, all for Best Supporting Actress. But her story didn't stop there. She earned 2 more Oscar nominations after that, one for another one of my absolute favorite movies, Hidden Figures, in 2016, and another for The Shape of Water in 2017. Outside of acting, Octavia Spencer is also an author. She wrote a mystery series for kids called Randy Rhoads Ninja Detective. And so at 42, her home state of Alabama honored her with Octavia Spencer Day. And at 52, she received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Octavia once said, "I had a very strong mom who made me and my sisters understand that there were no limitations on our lives except what we placed on ourselves." Octavia Spencer is living proof that sometimes your moment doesn't come early. It comes after years of hard work, self-belief, and refusing to give up. And for that, she's very inspiring and incredibly motivating. Okay, so that is all for the 3 inspiring actresses I chose for today. I have to be honest, I've only seen all these actresses in a couple of films, and I didn't really know a lot about their lives. I just knew that they were really cool people and they were really successful, and so I wanted to look into, how they came to be and their stories and how they came to be such incredible people and people that we look up to today. So I hope that these women prove to you just how much can happen over the course of your life, and they're still going, and that you do not need to have your life figured out at 20 or whoops, that was my computer. That you do not need to have your life figured out at 20 or 25 or 29 or even 30, because for all you know, maybe you'll win an Oscar at 60 years old. So never underestimate yourself. Don't let your age fool you. And honestly, whatever you set your mind to, you can do. Before I go into my random life update, comment down below which story was your favorite. And who else you would like me to talk about next when, I continue this series. As for random life update now, let's see. I have to say lately, I think fall, is really up there for one of my favorite seasons. I think not being in school and being in classes all day, I'm actually spending even more time outside, and I'm just like, it is absolutely so gorgeous and stunning, and all the fall activities are just so much fun. On that note, I still don't know what I will be dressing up as for Halloween, but I do know that I will be giving candy out to trick-or-treaters because my parents will not be here. So gotta man the house, and I still, gotta give candy to the kids because that's the best part. So anywho, thanks for listening to What Now. If this episode hit home, I'd love for you to subscribe and share it with a friend who's figuring things out too. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, we're all just figuring it out as we go.